Well, hello out there, Patreons. It's been a while. I've been working on this massive project. I have these two large fairy tale fairy houses that I've been building from scratch, and it's been eating up all of my time. But they are almost done. And today's video is about is going to be a project where we create a few little clay mushrooms to finish off the look once and for all and get them done. So I did, in a previous video, I made some clay mushrooms. These are kind of the result of those clay mushrooms. And we made the stems, we made the caps out of air dry clay for these mushrooms. Quick disclaimer, in the first video where I made the clay, these stems were stuck to the caps with clay slip, but I couldn't help but handle them because they're so cute, and so my handling them broke the stems loose, so I had to go through with some super glue and super glue them back on. But other than that, everything that I said in the previous video was accurate. So here we are to this stage where we're getting ready to paint these beauties. And what I love about the effects of the clay that we did is we have these lumpy areas where it's like so imperfect, and it's so organic. I really love it. It's so organic and so forgiving. The one thing I did have to do is I did have to go through and I had to sand out my fingerprints because I found that I had fingerprints stuck in there, so I had to sand that out a little bit. But other than that, these are exactly the way I made them in the previous video. So I have this one I finished painting off camera because I wanted to experiment with the paint. So I painted the underneath, and I painted the cap, and in a moment I'll show you the colors I used and the technique I used. So this is the first one done. It just is missing its varnish. And it just looks so organic. I'm just shocked. And wait till you see it at the end of the video. I'm going to unveil both houses with all these mushrooms painted, varnished, and glued into place on these houses, and you're going to love the effect. I can already see it in my mind's eye. So what do we have here? The color palette I'm working on, of course, craft acrylics. So I have working dark to light. I'm going to be using a burnt umber, khaki tan, bamboo, parchment, and warm white. The bamboo, parchment, and warm white are going to be for the stems, and the burnt umber and probably not the khaki tan, maybe a little bit of that, but definitely the bamboo will be the top coat for this. I experimented with this while I was painting with it, just kind of see what kind of colors I wanted. So the basic idea, we're working with acrylics, we're working dark to light. So the way I did the stems and the gills was I put down a darker coat of bamboo, and I got all into these grooves and stuff. And then I put on another coat of parchment on top of that, but I tried not to push too much of that paint into the grooves. Got a little bit deeper in there than I would have liked. I would have liked to seen some of that bamboo come through. So when I do the other ones, I might try and be a little more careful about that. And then the white, the warm white, just kind of was dry brushed very, very softly across the top, and then some details underneath with the gills. So again, I'm working dark to light, so the cap, the darkest color is going to be the burnt umber, That's going to be the undercoat. It's going to get in all the cracks and nooks and crannies and bumps and lumps. And then on top of that, I will put, I may put some khaki, not, you know, a whole lot, but definitely bamboo is going to be the one that's going to kind of brighten it up. It looks really good without it, but I need it a little bit brighter for my projects. And I used finger painting to do this top coat of this lighter top coat. I just felt like I needed to do something more experimental and something more organic, so I finger painted the top coat. So anyway, we'll get into that more as we go. So here's my test palette. This is my paint palette that I will be working with. Pretty much using just maybe just these 3 brushes. This one will be the main one. I'll go in with details where I need to touch up with that one. And I kind of like this one for just gently brushing because the bristles are all over the place already. So they kind of will allow me to just dry brush that white on there. Okay, so let's see what else. When these are done being painted, we will be varnishing them, and the varnish that I use as a water base, I don't know if I can tilt this. Yeah, I can tilt it. Okay. This is Samane, I don't know how you pronounce that. It's a water-based varnish, but you can use whatever you like. You know, you can use Mod Podge. You can certainly use that. If you're putting these outside or they need to be really durable, you're going to really need to use a durable finish. So just read read the instructions on your varnishes and shellac and stuff like that. There's all different kinds of stuff you can use. Just read the instructions based on how you're going to be using these. Okay. All right. So I think we're going to move on, and I'm going to give you a real quick glimpse into how these are going to be used. So this is really cool. You're getting a kind of a glimpse into the behind the scenes. These houses are in the process. They're at the very end of the process. But I'm going to show you where these finished painted mushrooms are going to go on my fairy houses. So be right back and I'll show you that. Okay, so the idea for this project is I needed to I wanted to make some mushrooms, and probably to go somewhere like here on this fairy house, maybe on this corner here, maybe 1 to 3 of them, maybe 3 of them. We'll see. And then potentially in like these corners here, just to kind of fill space. But I don't really want to take away from this. But what I'm going to do is make a bunch, and then I'll pop them in. I'm going to try and make them like really teeny tiny and up to maybe that height. But yeah, so maybe in, a couple of empty places, I don't know, something like that. So that's the first house, and now let me show you the second house that I'm going to be, that I need mushrooms for. Okay, so this is the second house. This is my fairy castle. There'll be a full unveiling in another video, but for now, I think I need a mushroom for here. And let me see, let me turn. So I might, maybe, well, there's going to be flowers here, just like on this side. So I don't want to put too much in the way of mushrooms. So maybe 1 mushroom here. And it's going to have, just like on this side, flowers coming up there, and maybe another patch of ivy coming out the bottom. So we want to be strategic with it. It might this one might only use maybe one mushroom, because I'm looking at the rest of it and I'm thinking it's not really in need of anything else. So yeah, I think that's what we're going to do for this castle, for this fairy house, just the one mushroom on here. Okay, so let's move on to the next phase of this video, where I start talking about what type of mushrooms and the clay and all that kind of stuff. Okay, be right back. Okay, so now we're back. I'm going to start painting the stems and the gills. I'm going to lay down the base coat, and I'm going to use, I'm not even sure where I got this from, if I'm being honest. Maybe I got it on, no, I don't know. I don't know where I got this from. But anyway, it's a perfect color. It was just in my paint box, and I was experimenting with colors, and I liked this one. So this is called Bamboo, and it's going to be this color here. So we are going to start painting the stems. And I swapped out my brush because one I was originally going to use is a little bit big and unwieldy, and these are small bits. So I'm going to try using this brush. I'm going to be doing most of the painting off camera, because you don't want to see me sitting here trying to paint with my shaky hands. But I will get it started, and then I'll finish it, finish that coat off camera. I'll do all the stems in this base coat, and then when I come back, I'll show you what I've done, and then we'll move on to the next color, and then the next color, and so forth. So that's how I'm gonna that's how this session is gonna go. Okay, so I'm gonna get this started. All right, so let's get this party started, shall we? All right, I'm gonna get a little bit of it done, and then I'm gonna finish it off camera, so I can get up close to it with my old eyes and like get it stable. But the main idea with this base coat, I want the stems to be light, the stems and the gills to be a light color, but I really kind of want to get into these grooves with this base. It's mainly those that I'm most interested in, at getting into. I'll paint the whole thing this color, probably this whole stem this color, but I really want to make sure that I get into these grooves to kind of create a sense of depth, I think. It's a subtle effect. It's not going to be something that is going to necessarily jump out at you, but it's just yeah, I think it'll give it a little bit more realism and a little more depth. So we're gonna, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing there. So right now I'm just concentrating on getting into these beautiful little grooves that I created. And if you haven't watched the first video where I actually created these in clay, go ahead back and watch those. They're free on this channel on YouTube. I got free versions of those. This is the extended version of those videos, where you get to see a little bit of my workflow, creative choices, behind the scenes stuff, things that I'm not posting elsewhere. So you guys on Patreon are seeing this. Eventually this video will probably go on to YouTube or my website somewhere or something like that, but for now. All right, so you can see where this is going. It's getting into the cracks. And I am going to, whoopsie, I'm going to continue this off camera so I can get really down in there, make sure I'm getting all the details. And then when I am done getting the base coat done for this, I'll get the gills and the stems done for this one and all the other 4. Then I will come back and I will show you what that looks like. Okay, so that took a while. I was sitting here painting for like a half hour. But it's important for these base coats to get really down into those grooves and stuff and make sure that you're being really accurate about getting into those grooves, because once you start putting on the top coats, then, you know, it's going to be harder to go back and fix any problems. So there's one of the ones I did. So we have the bamboo color base coat into the grooves. Show you a couple more. Okay, this teeny tiny one. Had a bit of an oopsie with that one, but that's all right because that's going to be painted over anyway. It was more important for me to get down into all the grooves, so. Okay. So anyway, what I forgot to say before I started painting this, when you're creating these air dry clay sculptures, you gotta leave them set for like at least 2 days before you start painting, because otherwise the clay will still be wet when you're painting, and things might not work out too good for you. So wait until these are set. Give them, you know, a good 2 days. So I did these 2 days ago, these clay pieces. So the video for that was a couple days ago. Okay. Or a couple days before I'm doing this video. Okay, so just so that, you know, throw that out there so you're so you remember that when you're doing your own projects. All right, so the bamboo was the color I just did. So the next color on my palette here is called Parchment. And this is going to be sort of the top coat. And it's going to go over what we have here to kind of lighten it up. And so that'll be the next thing I do, and I'll probably do that off camera, but I'll start a little bit. Let me start a little bit here with something you can see. We're not trying to get down in the nooks and crannies with this one. With this coat, we're just going over the top. And I kind of want to leave some of those nooks and crannies for, so you see kind of how this is going. It'll look more organic that way too. So this is kind of where we're going to go next, and I'm going to do all of my mushroom stems and the gills really quickly with that. I'm going to again do that off camera because you don't want to see my shaky hands in here trying to do all that. But that'll be what I'm going to do next, and then when I'm done that, I will come back and show you the results of that, and then we'll talk about the next step. Okay, these turned out really cool. I really love the effects. I don't know if that shows up on camera or not, but I do love how these turned out. You can just really see into those cracks. The hardest part really were the gills. They were a little bit of a problem, but I do love the effect. So you have the darker coat underneath it that's showing through in the cracks, and it has this organic kind of a look to it, which I really love. So the next step then is going to be to use this white, and we're not going to actually go over the entire thing. We're just going to like really lightly brush it, and I'm going to change brushes for that. This brush sort of splays out a little bit, and I'm like literally going to dab it into the paint and dab it off. And I'll show you how I'm doing that. Dab it into the paint and dab it off, and then like really dry brush it so that it's only minimal amount of the white. And this is the white that I'm using. It's called warm white, and I like that with the palette that I'm using. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little bit of this one just so you can get an idea of, and we are literally not using a lot of paint, so you're just dipping the paint in and then you're brushing most of it off. The idea really is just to brush it so that it's just barely there, right? So it just lightens this up just a little. And if there's places like that where it streaks, a little bit different, a little bit lighter, a little bit darker, it's okay. This is representing nature. So we're not being meticulous about it. We're just letting it organically go where it goes. I don't know why I'm doing the bottom, because the bottoms aren't going to be seen. They're going to be glued to something. But now the tricky part is doing these gills. I'm just trying to make sure this shows up in the camera. And it is not, again, it's not getting down into any of the grooves. This is a coat that goes on the top. And what I might do is just do a really quick pass around the rim here. Although I'm going to be doing touch-ups later after I do the cap, because the darker colors of the cap, for sure, I'm going to get things here. So I'm going to be doing touch-ups there anyway, so I'm not going to get too crazy with that. But you see the difference between this one and this one. It's ever so slight, but I think it makes a difference. It adds a whole nother depth to it. So I'm just going to go ahead off camera. I'm going to do the rest of them just like that off camera. And then I will be back to discuss the next step. You can see actually how this is looking like the one that I made already. All right, so let me just brush on some white paint on the rest of these, and then I will be back for the next step. All right, we're back. That was really quick. That went really, really quick. Probably did that in less than 2 minutes. I probably could have recorded it, but so that's kind of where we're going with it. It kind of seems like we did all this work just to get back to the same color as the clay, but to be honest, if you really look at it, you can see depth of color and stuff like that in there. It just sort of does something to it. It makes it look living. So, let's see these two. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, now the stems are done, and they're pretty much done now. We're going to do the top. I experimented with this. There's like so many layers of paint on this you wouldn't believe, because I was doing a lot of experimenting. But I decided that I wanted to do the base color with this burnt umber. And this is going to go on the base. I may throw in a little bit of, let's see, this is khaki tan, this color here. Maybe a little bit of that. And then we're going to probably have bamboo. This was the base for the stem, but it'll be the top coat for this, at least for a few of them. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is grab a brush, a slightly bigger brush than that, and I'm going to just hit the top of these with paint, and I'm not worrying about brush strokes. I just want to get the paint into the surface, get it blended into the surface and into any nooks and crannies and bumps and divots and all that stuff. Just make sure the paint gets into all that. Just like with the base coat for the stems, we're making sure that we get into all the nooks and crannies with this darker color. It will definitely make a difference. All right, so I'll do a bit of this, and then I'll probably go back and do a few bits of details, because I am making this to go on a project that I'm selling. So I definitely want to make sure that I like my details. And I want to spend some time on making sure that I do this meticulously. Yeah, I'm going to spend a little bit of time off camera dealing with this edge here. It's not something I want to deal with on camera, because I want to pay attention to what I'm doing. Again, because I'm making this as a decorative item for something that I'm selling, so I want to spend the time to make sure that looks good. So you get the idea. It's going to be luscious, and that's nice even by itself, really. But because of the color of it is a little too dark for the fairy houses that I have, so I wanted this dark undercolor, but needed something to brighten it up, because it's just by itself, it's too dark. So you could theoretically just leave it like this. And I mean, that looks so cute, just like that. Okay, so let me go off camera and do my thing with the details and do the other ones. And, or you know what? Let's be brave. Put that aside. It gives you something to watch. And then I'll go back and I'll do the rims off camera. How about that? We'll do that. We like to wing things around here. All right. I am loving all these little bumps and stuff. But I did have to go in there with a little piece of sandpaper and sand out the fingerprints that I left behind. That's not really something I wanted on there. It's like every time you think you're getting ahead on a project, you find some little detail that needs your attention. But at the end of the day, it's the details that matter, right? So I'm really trying not to put like a heavy coat of paint on this. Just because I kind of like the lighter clay coming through. And it'll add another layer of realism to it. So yes, you see underneath, this is the bit that I have to go and do off camera and do very slowly and make sure I get that all cleaned up. So put that aside. Cover up my oopsie there. And we're not being too careful. I mean, I'm just trying to be careful not to make a mess of the stem that I just painted. But other than that, we're not trying to be too careful. Make sure we get into these cracks. Oops. And if you slather on a little too much paint, no problem, just spread it around. All right, let's put just a wee bit of paint there. So I mean, to give you an idea, I've been painting already now up to this point. I've been painting for, I don't know, I started at like 7, and it's like, all right, so almost 2 hours I've been working on this, to give you an idea of when you're doing your own project. And we're almost done, really. Maybe it'll take me another half hour to finish the painting, even with the details, because the rest of this is super simple. Just to give you an idea of how long it takes to do something like this. And I'm working on, what, 5 mushrooms here? 5 different ones. This would look really cute as a red cap. You put dots, paint it red, put some white dots on it and stuff. But I'm just, for the sake of getting these projects done and consistency, I am just going to make it the same as the other ones. Because I'm at a point where I do have to get these done. I am really looking forward to putting them on my website and unveiling them. That'll be one of the next videos I do, and you'll probably see the unveiling before you see this. Possibly, probably. But I can't wait to. It's my most ambitious projects yet, and I'm pulling together a lot of different skills that I've been learning over the last 10 years that I've been doing this. Yeah, it's been about 10 years. Dye Studio Design started as an idea in 2015 after getting laid off from a retail job and then having to drop out of college. And 2016, I made it a business, but I actually started out making candles, like decorative candles with faux florals and stuff like that. And I kind of, as much as I love making candles, the legal part of it was a little intimidating, and I decided it was too expensive too, because you have to have special insurance and all that. And I just didn't want to be in the candle selling business anymore. I'll probably do DIY candle making at some point, just as like a DIY project, because I love making candles, and I'd like to make some more for here at home, and maybe as holiday gifts. But anyway, oh, these are looking so cute. These are so adorable. But yeah, I started out doing candles and candle holders, and since then I've expanded into fairy houses and wood-burned Celtic art and floral designs without the candle holders. So, and I write, and I try and do some photography. All right, let me just get in there. I just noticed that. All right, so I'm going to go off camera. I'll show you a bit of these. I'm going to go off camera, and I'm going to fix all the edging so I can take my time with that. And then I will be back for the final part of the painting stage of this project. All right, so I will see you in a minute. Okay, we are down to the final part of this. I went off screen and I cleaned up all the edges around this little, where the cap and the gills meet. My hands are getting shakier and shakier, but I think the coffee is kicking in, so it's a good thing I'm done the detail work, because I don't think I could be able to do any more detail work today. So they are all cleaned up. Now we're getting ready to do the fun part. A little bit of finger painting. I think we'll do that. So, as I said before, these are the two colors. This will be the top coat, the bamboo. So that's this one. And the khaki tan will be a little bit. We'll put a little bit of that in there. It's going to be mostly I think mostly, we'll see. Each one can be different. They don't have to be exactly the same either, so I can play around with one and see how I like it. So let's start with this darker one. And I don't want it to be overkill, so I'm just kind of brushing with my fingers. Try not to leave my fingerprints on there, though. I don't want to do that. But let's play a little bit with the darker color, and then I'll go over it, because it dries quick. I'll go over it with the lighter. All right, so that I don't leave my fingerprints, I can't dab. I gotta smear it. And actually, I could do this with you make sure we get the edges here. I could probably do this with a Q-tip as well. I just I'm kind of liking using my fingers. kind of get in there and do a little something with that. And I'm trying not to, with these fingers, I'm trying not to touch this stem that I just worked really hard on. Okay. Now, that kind of looks like it's the same as that. I'm wondering what I did. Wondering if I actually did do this on top. Let's give it a shot though, because it's only paint. If you don't like what you do, you can paint over it like I did with the other one. I just painted over what I didn't like. Start it over again. It's kind of fun. I just kind of discovered this by accident as I was playing around with the paints. And what I really like is the dark that comes through. And I will probably touch up underneath here because that's a little bit, that needs to be a little, now it's too clean, right? But we'll hit that later. So that's kind of what I'm going for, that little mushroom there. That's kind of what I'm going for. It looks really organic and real, and I really like that look. I really like it. All right, so let's go back to this one. This is a small one. I don't have to do a huge amount of anything with it. In fact, probably the less I do, the better. So yeah, I could probably use cotton balls or Q-tips. The only thing is the fuzz. You might end up with fuzz, but all right. Let's do the other one. Oops, got a little bit crazy there. We will just smear that. Okay. No mistakes here, right? That's I like that. It looks very organic. And I'm gonna touch up the bottoms, make them a little less dark. I'm really looking forward to putting these on my latest creations. I think it's going to bring them to life just what they need. So speaking of those creations, so one's a half timber. You'll see at the end of the video because I'm going to show you what they look like when they're attached. But one is a half timber structure with an A-frame half timber top story and a stone veneer bottom story. And then the other fairy house I made is a fairy tower, like a 3-story fairy tower. And I've been working on them for months, and these are the finishing touches I need to bring them to life, to really give them a little extra something. So here we go. I am going to try and do more on Patreon. I had to work out how I'm going to do that, so it took me a little bit. And I'm sort of using these fairy houses I just made as kind of a template for how I'm going to handle my Patreon and YouTube going forward. So yeah, look at that. It's like so organic. I love it. All right, so I'm going to do the other two. I'm not sure who's going to be waking up at this point. So if I abruptly shut off the camera, I will jump on again later and pick up where I left off. But so the next phase after this, after I'm done playing with the paints, I'm going to kind of let these set because they have multiple layers of paint on them. So I'm just going to let them sit till later on this evening, and then I'm going to varnish them. And then after they're varnished, I will attach them onto my castle and fairy house. And then I will unveil them in a video, or I will show you them in a video. I'm going to have a special unveiling video, but I will show you at the end of this video. I'll give you a bit of a sneak peek at what they're going to look like. Oops, a little too much, but that's all right. Okay. Yeah. I really like the effect, I have to say. All right, I'm going to do one more here for us. And then I'm going to go off and clean up the edges, and I'll give you a final look of the painted version of these. And I encourage you to check me out on all of my social media, on my YouTube, on my blog page. My website has a What's New page that will be, going forward, will be showing all the new stuff, any new blogs, new Substack posts, new items, because there will be new items coming. Any sales I've run, any new videos I put out, it'll all be listed there. The next batch of videos are probably going to be Celtic art related, woodburn art related, drawing related. Just because that's the batch of projects I need to finish next. So this has been all about trying to finish projects that didn't get finished in 2024. I don't know what happened in 2024, but I wasn't able to get a lot of things done, a lot of projects done like I wanted. So this is the year 2025. We're going to get some stuff in the shop, new stuff in the shop, new blogs, new videos for Patreon and YouTube. I'm going to start working the plan. So, okay, that's really cool. Now I'm going to go back and clean this up, and then I will be right back. Okay, so we are officially done. I did the edges underneath. And you can kind of see all the different colors coming through. That's really cool. It looks very organic. Sorry about the fuzz. And the cat hair. Having a problem with cat hair today. I have 2 cats and somehow their hair is just everywhere today. So that's one. The teeny tiny one. Oops, I gotta make sure I'm actually in frame, right? Teeny tiny one. This is another one. So I got 6 of these all together. Here's the tapered one. And this is the original one that I did. Okay, so I have 6 of these. The next step for me is going to be to varnish them. I'm not going to do that on camera. So the next thing you will see is you will see these attached to the fairy houses that they go on. So that'll be the end of this video. And hopefully you enjoyed this little bit of behind the scenes. I just spent about 2.5 hours doing the paint effects for these. And hopefully you enjoyed watching me do that. I'm probably going to do, more of these kinds of things. Just so I can, show you guys what I do. Yeah, so the next thing you will see will be the finished pieces for my fairy houses. And that'll be for you in a minute. For me, it might be a day or 2. But we'll see you in a minute. Okay, this is the end of our mushroom clay project. And I wanted to show you the end product. So here's one of our little mushrooms. Peeking out of there. There's another one hiding in there, hiding in the foliage. This is one of my fairy houses that I just finished. And I think there's one more hiding somewhere. There is. There's a little guy right there. The little guy right there. And then on the castle, I only used the one. So I only used, oops, sorry. All right, there we go. I only used the one for the castle because I just felt like you didn't need anything else. So I think in the last clip that everything had this color on it for the top. I lightened it up. I used a lighter color for the top for the ones for the fairy house because I just felt like they needed it. So here's a glimpse of, I'm trying not to do that in the light, but there's the front of the castle. There'll be a castle unveiling video coming separately, as well as a fairy house video coming separately. But I just wanted to give you a real quick glimpse into how I used these little mushrooms that I made. They are so adorable. Okay, so that'll be it for today. Thank you for coming along for the ride, and hopefully you enjoyed this little project. And until the next video, happy creating.